An individual on the outside may find it difficult to conceptualize how challenging the life of a K-pop trainee is. Here's why. Here are some of the incidents of casting couch, like Kim So-hee confession, Jang Ja-yeon's suicide, Park Se-hoon. Kim So-hee confession. During the first episode of KBS's Idol Drama Operations Team, IBI's Kim So-hee made a recent confession about how a former agency head had offered marriage to her. The story was revealed in the program. So-hee explained that the CEO of the agency she had worked for before see her as a lady and asked her to marry him on many occasions. She said that she felt uneasy but couldn't reject him openly and believed that in order to make her debut, she would have to suffer through the awkward situation. She told the anecdote to the surprise of the other members of the ensemble, noting that she had believed her experience to be a typical one. So suffering, he's of what we'll term for the sake of convenience of reference is not an isolated incident, according to the statistics, even if the ladies she spoke with did not have a comparable experience. 2/3 of actresses polled in 2010 stated that they have been asked to have relations with a possible patron during the course of a sponsorship proposal. This indicates that proposals for sponsorship are rather common. When we look at the risk variables that have been validated by research, we see that female trainees are more at risk for exploitation. According to the analyses of a study that was conducted in 2012 by the Korean Women's Development Institute, it was found that female workers, particularly those who were employed in contract positions, were more susceptible to discrimination and pressurize in the workplace than their male counterparts. The widespread belief that people are more likely to be mistreated when they are female, younger, and employed in more vulnerable, irregular positions was backed up by a study that was conducted in 2015 by the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. The study found that individuals are more likely to be tormented when they meet these criteria. There is no question that female trainees, who typically start their employment when they are still in high school, meet all of the conditions for vulnerability to predators. If the trainee is determined enough to make their debut, even the more senior trainees who have more life experience might be influenced. Consider the situation of Mr. Lee, the CEO of the management agency, who is 38 years old and is accused of victimizing a newly hired trainee on April 7, 2016. He allegedly informed the member of the female group, who was 27 years old at the time, that if she wanted to become famous, she needed to learn to like campaigning with relationships. Repeated pursuits, unwanted advances, and accounts of intimidation are all too common, but the government does not appear to be motivated to modify the standards that regulate the business until a disaster occurs. Jang Ja-yeon's suicide. The death by suicide of Jang Ja-yeon and the controversy involving open-world entertainment were two events that served as turning moments for proclamations to defend trainees. In 2009, her body was discovered after what appeared to be a suicide. She is said to have left behind a handwritten message in which she asserts that she was forced to engage in activity and drinking with a number of prominent public people. The memo was responsible for a manhunt being conducted for high-profile persons that were identified in it. Nonetheless, it was unable to generate tangible proof against the suspected offenders. After Jang's passing in 2015, the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism enacted the Popular Culture Industry Act as a response to the void left by his absence. The act is a comprehensive piece of legislation that consists of 9 parts relating to entertainment contracts. These parts cover topics such as the rights and obligations of companies and entertainers, education and mental health support for the artists, trademark rights and attribution, distribution of revenue, dispute resolutions, protection of youth and artists, and subsidiary agreements. In addition to this, it requires that all entertainment agencies adhere to a standardized contract that was developed by the Fair Trade Commission (FTC). The Federal Trade Commission (FTC) is continuing its efforts to ensure compliance on the part of a number of significant corporations whose contracts contain discriminatory terms and circumstances. Additionally, in order for entertainment companies to operate as a legitimate company, the measure made obtaining a government-approved certificate a must. It created the framework for agency owners who coerce their students into unwanted relations. Up to 10 years in jail or a 100 million won fine might be imposed on violators. Charges may also be brought against those who force young performers to dress inappropriately or act lewdly. The law also establishes tougher guidelines, limiting student performers' work hours to between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. each day and 40 hours per week to preserve their right to study and sleep. The Boss and X5 were two boy groups that Open World Entertainment was managing at the time of the controversy. The organization has been operating since 2007. Prior to founding the business, the accused CEO worked as an entertainment planner for 5 years. There were no records of his past criminal convictions, despite the fact that one media referred to him as the former head of a criminal organization. It seems likely that Open World Entertainment would have met the qualifications to be a registered agency. Additionally, the Act makes no provision for safeguards for people who come forward to report abuse, and victims of unwanted situations now have almost no legal rights. The victim of Mr. Lee's attacker, who was previously stated, was accused of being involved in the crime since she reportedly laid down by herself without anything on and followed his instructions. It turns out that the Korean government treats its K-pop industry the way that the American government treats its automobile and banking industry, meaning that these are industries that have to be protected. Yoonhee Hong, the author of The Birth of Korean Cool, said, Park Shae-hoon. On to Park Shae-hoon now. Accusations against him were dropped after being charged with a crime by trainee A, and allegations circulated that the attorneys had paid A to drop the case, which the lawyers denied, of course. Park Shae-hoon just appeared in the drama Neighborhood Hero, and gosh, he's the last guy I'd want to be my hero. Despite not being prohibited from appearing on MBC, KBS, or SBS at this period, may claim that he didn't commit the crime, but in Korea, as in most other countries, typically do not go to jail and are released. This circumstance makes me think of a recent incident when one of the suspects was described as being too attractive to be a bomber by young girls. Park Shae-hoon was given a pass by the public and was still able to portray himself positively due to cultural norms because he is seen as a handsome young actor. As it happens elsewhere, this issue is far wider than Korean entertainment or even the entire nation, but it demonstrates the frighteningly casual attitude that people have toward him based on the presumption that he didn't do it. Kim Ki-duk. The claims were made in a covered investigative documentary that was shown on South Korean television on March 6. One woman claims that Kim and male actor Jang Ja-yeon both mistreated her after Kim asked her to discuss a script in his hotel room. She alleged that while they were filming in a secluded area, Kim tortured her every night. It was an absolute living horror. The two men, who frequently collaborate, shared stories of rape actresses, and there was a sense of competitiveness between them, she said state broadcaster MBC. So many nights, he came to my room and banged the door or phoned me at the room continuously until I replied. She had given up performing and spent years in counseling. Kim texted MBC that he only had negotiated intimate relations and never used his film directorship to satisfy his own desires. Cannes, Berlin, and Venice have honored Kim's films. After apologizing for misconduct, Joe was sacked from the Cross and his college professorship. I'm panicking, he told the station. I'm awful. However, most news is inaccurate. After an inquiry, he would discuss it. A separate female performer recalled Kim's humiliating audition. A third person accused Kim of perverting her while filming Mobius in 2004. Kim was fined $5,013,382 after the allegation was dismissed in December due to a lack of evidence. She said that Kim often pursued her for relations, tried to lock her and another actress in a hotel room, and fired her from the project after she protested. Last month, she launched a social media campaign against the Berlin Film Festival, where Kim's film Human, Space, Time and Human showed. The film's Korean premiere has been delayed indefinitely, sources say. Kim is one of Korean cinema's most successful exports, with films including 3 Iron, Spring, Summer, Autumn, Winter, and Spring and Pieta, the latter 2 of which were South Korea's Oscar submissions. Intimacy, humiliation, mutilation, and violence, often towards women, are common in his films. Leading South Korean playwright Lee Yeon-tak and poet Ko-won are #MeToo activists.